Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Nikitinaknits. My name is Evgeniya and in this video I'm sharing with you something so exciting. I've been planning this video since summer of 2025 and it is about all of the new yarns that were released in the year of 2025. Not all of them, but something I really like, something I really wanted to try. So basically I contacted the companies and I asked to send me either a swatch or a ball of yarn and I was going to show it in this video. I want to say sorry in advance for my voice because I'm quite sick. I couldn't speak for almost an entire week. This video had to be out in the end of December or beginning of January and I'm still not so well, but I decided there is no time to postpone it and I was so excited to release it. So let's just hope that my throat can sustain the whole video. With that being said, grab your knitting, grab your favorite drink. In my case is some mint tea today, and let's enjoy together some of the gorgeous swatches from the yarns of 2025. Well, if you watch my channel, if you know me, you know that I'm quite a big cashmere addict. And of course, I would like to start from a gorgeous cashmere. This is Cashmere Kumula by Gepard. Gepard is the Danish brand that I respect quite a lot. I want to try so many yarns from them. This is a 100% cashmere. It has 145 meters per 25 grams. The recommended needle size is between 3 and 6 millimeter needles. So that really depends which gauge you're looking for and what fabric you want to achieve. So if we look at the cord of this yarn, we will notice that there is a colorful cord. In this case is this dark blue cord and a lot of cashmere fluff, these random beautiful bumps of cashmere that were just attached to the cord, not so tightly. And I knitted the swatch on 3.25 millimeter needles because actually Gepard, this brand, sent me this yarn for yarn testing and for knitting an entire project. I've got 6 balls of it and the blouse that I want to knit requires a gauge of 21 stitch per 10 centimeters, and that's why I knitted this swatch on 3.25 millimeter needles, which was quite tight, to be honest, because I think the perfect needle size for this yarn starts from 4 millimeter needles. So you see how much of this gorgeous fluff you have poking through the fabric, and that's even before washing the swatch and before wearing it. I imagine that when you wear it and when you allow this fluff to release, it's going to be only more fluffy and only more kissing towards your skin. It is so soft. I'm a person who appreciates these type of sensations so much, probably because I don't have a cat and I don't allow myself to have a cat, and I did have a cat when I was a child and a teenager, and I probably miss those feelings when you can have something soft next to you and cuddle with this. I've tried so many different cashmeres already and this is one of the best ones and one of the special ones because of this very beautiful irregular texture. The colorway is 714 and it is this gorgeous classic light denim color that suits me so beautiful, and I think it could suit many people, most people I would say, because it's quite a neutral color. So the last beautiful look at the Kumula Cashmere by Gepard. Now why don't we jump into something harsh, wearable, textured, durable, but still soft to the skin. What about Donegal woolen spun? So LAMA, a Swiss company, released this new yarn that is a woolen spun of their Donegal version. They already had Donegal in their collection, but that was a roving yarn, which I'm not a fan of. You know that probably from my previous videos. And this time they released a woolen spun Donegal. That means that it's actually spun. So that was already a plus. The second thing is that most Donegal yarns that I see in the market, they're really uneven, and I don't really like that. I like more of firm finish, of more even stitches. And this is the yarn basically. And again, this yarn is very round and very even. The next thing that really attracted me is the color palette and these gorgeous specks in the yarn itself. This looks very interesting and adds a lot of depth and definition to the fabric. And if we look at different colorways of this yarn, every single yarn is going to be different. In some colorways, the specks, those little tweeds, are going to be more visible. In some of them are not so much, like in this one. By the way, this is a colorway 80, which is this gorgeous purplish eggplant color that is very deep, very interesting, almost like a purple night sky. So my last concern was how scratchy it is, because I know that Donegal yarns could be quite scratchy towards the skin, and I was so curious to touch it. Basically, when I received the box from LAMA, the first yarn that I grabbed, it was this one, and I put it towards my neck, and I was so glad because it's not scratchy to my neck. So look at this beautiful swatch. The swatch transformed so much after steam blocking, and that's not even washed. So I imagine if I wash it and steam block it, that's going to be even bigger transformation. Now it's beautiful and even, and the stitches look so nice. One thing I want to say that you do see roving out. I usually don't have that problem because I really watch out my purl rows. I literally tied up every single purl that I make. Maybe that's why it's so slow. But even though I tried, you can still see these purl bumps. You see these uneven rows. So if you're knitting some sort of cardigans or if you're knitting short rows in the beginning of the garment, I always recommend to watch out your rowing out if this is something that bothers you. Overall, I really like the feeling, and actually let me tell you the specs. Of course, it is 100% wool that is produced in Ireland. The recommended needle size is 4.5 to 5 millimeter needles, and the sort of projects that I would knit with this yarn is all sorts of textures, cables that you're going to treat like a hardware items. If you like hiking and mountains just like me, you can knit yourself some mountain sweaters, and that should hold up really well. Also, it is very lightweight and it feels quite dry to the touch. Most of these type of yarns feeling quite dry to the touch, so it's not a complaint. And the main thing that I was concerned about, that is not so scratchy. It is a bit pokey, of course, to the neck. Like if I really press it, especially if I sweat a little bit, it's going to be even more pokey. So for oversensitive people, of course, it's not an option to wear next to skin, but for most people it's going to be absolutely fine. All sorts of cardigans, maybe homeware that you would just cozy up and enjoy, all sorts of zipper sweaters and cozy jumpers that you would just grab and go for a walk, these type of things. And for sure I will be experimenting with this yarn more in the future and knit myself an entire garment, something soft again. We're going to switch back and forth. So this is LAMA Torino, a boucle yarn from the German brand. This is one of my favorite brands. Comes out that my favorite brands are German very often. This company delivers exceptional quality of yarns, and I'm about to try so many yarns from them because they did send me the whole box of different balls of yarns to experiment with. And this is the yarn that they recently released. Each ball contains of 25 grams and 185 meters, recommended needle size between 3 and 4 millimeter needles, and the contents of the yarn is 80% merino wool and 20% silk. I have to say that this merino wool feels like cashmere. The feeling is a little bit drier than cashmere, but to my experience, it's so soft. And that's before blocking. I'm just touching the ball. This is very soft, and I would say this is a budget-friendly cashmere, if I could say that. So let's take a look at the swatch. This is so nice. I knitted mine on 3.25 millimeter needles, and the swatch is quite bouncy. I like that because the silk thread inside is a little bit bouncy. If we take a look at it, you see, it bounces. And I like that because with time, as we wear the garments, usually they wear out and they stretch and the garment loses its shape. But this is really helpful because the project is going to keep the shape better. So this swatch became way softer after the steam block. Obviously, it feels like cashmere to my skin. It's so nice, so hugging, especially in this color. The colorway, by the way, is 36, and it is this very light, a bit warm, light blue. So what can we knit with this yarn? Well, first of all, we can use just one strand, just like I did, and it's going to be a beautiful, really lightweight blouse that is going to be quite airy, but not so see-through, because these boucle bumps, they're going to fill up the space. So now I don't see the camera because I put it right in front of my face, but you see that the air is still going through. So you're not going to see your brow or anything, you know, visible through the fabric. And it is going to be really lightweight, really beautiful, cloudy blouse. So all sorts of blouses, all sorts of scarves, all sorts of hats, even if you like this type of texture. Also adding this as a second strand to any sort of other yarns from LAMA. For example, they have LAMA Modena, which is a very thin thread. There is 300 something meters per 25 grams, and you can make the fabric a bit warmer, a bit more stable, a bit thicker by combining those two together. So you will have the texture of boucle yarn and you will still have a more sturdy garment. Also, you can combine it with LAMA Como, which is a thicker yarn, LAMA Milano, which is in the middle between Como and Modena. And you can also combine it with a silk mohair, so that would be very interesting actually to experiment. I'm a person who likes bouclé so much, but most bouclé that I see in the market are very chunky and big, and this is something very elegant, very gentle, where you see a little bit of a texture, but it's still very calm, it's not screaming to people's eyes, and it's very humble bouclé, I would say. Now, why don't we do a sock yarn? So this is Super Soxx from Lang. We get 420 meters per 100 grams, and this is what it makes up. You see? A very beautiful striping, quite thick sections, and the yarn contents are 75% merino wool extra fine, non-superwash, and 25% polyamide. The ball feels very soft, but you know, not that soft that it feels like it's going to peel on the first day. It feels still quite sturdy, and I'm planning to knit the socks for my husband with this yarn. By the way, this is a colorway 0527, and this is my swatch. I knitted my swatch on 2.5 millimeter needles, and I think it was a perfect choice because we still have some flexibility on the fabric, but it's not, you know, airy, and I like something sturdy usually for my socks, so they last longer. The fabric feels very soft for people who, for example, who sweat, and when the skin becomes a little bit humid, the socks start to really itch, and some people really don't like it. This yarn is perfect. It's just like baby soft, especially after blocking. I really like it. It feels gorgeous. It's very round, very even. There's no irregularities in the thread itself, and honestly, I'm really impressed with the quality. And the color change still keeps you interested but doesn't overwhelm you, because it's very calm, gradual change from these very earthy, natural colors. And I would need socks for myself, for my family, and even accessories, because it's extremely soft next to skin, next to my forehead, and why not? You could knit some gloves, some hats with it. Perfect sock yarn, what can I say? Gorgeous colors, and of course, I definitely recommend.
Next one is Atlas by Sandnes Garn. True DK weight yarn with 108 meters per 50 grams. Here we have 70% of Norwegian lamb's wool and 30% merino. Lamb's wool is supposed to be softer than a regular Norwegian wool, and merino adds a bit of that softness as well. This is a very important release from them because it's something in between very soft and silky double Sunday, which is 100% merino, and a harsh and sturdy Per Gynt, which was 100% Norwegian wool. However, this yarn has a complete character on its own. The texture is very airy, lightweight, and lofty. It feels a bit uneven and sticky as you knit with this. I had to really watch out my stitches so they are nice and firm while knitting, because if not, they're just jumping all over. Blocking helped, but you can still see some uneven stitches and some roving out on the swatch. But all of that is quite justified because the texture is so plush and quite soft. However, it is still very pokey and very scratchy towards my neck, and that's for sure I cannot wear next to skin. But I'm a quite sensitive person, so I'm sure that most people will find it absolutely soft and plush and completely possible to tolerate it next to skin. So their goal to mix the durability of Norwegian wool and the softness of merino was quite successful, I think. The only thing I should say, I think it will peel quite a lot. Of course, I cannot confirm for sure because I've never worn this garment for a long period of time, but seeing the texture of the yarn and seeing how slightly it is spun, I do think that this garment is not for really harsh wearing moments, like not hiking with your backpack or not working in the garden in this sweater. The finished work could be quite lightweight because this swatch, for example, is knitted on 4mm needles, but I'm sure if you take 5mm it's going to be still fine, because after blocking the yarn is going to release some sort of fluff to fill up those gaps. And as you can see, it's not so drapey on 4mm needles. I bought the entire sweater quantity for my husband, and I will hold it with alpaca lace from Pasquale. Can we just appreciate the color match? I spent a good amount of time trying to find the perfect alpaca match for it, and these two look like they're meant to be for each other. Atlas is in the color 5575 marine, and alpaca is in navy 17. I purchased alpaca lace myself, but I'm actually partnering with Pasquale, and you can get 10% discount on all of their yarns, whatever you choose from their website, if you use my affiliate link that is is going to be listed down below. Speaking about Pasquale, they have also released a new yarn, Arctic Pearl. It is a 100% lyocell from seashell, produced in Austria in eco-friendly and sustainable way. We get 245 meters per 50 grams, and the recommended needles are 3.5 millimeters. The structure of the yarn is this interesting airy chain that allows for more lightweight and airy summer projects. Of course, we can expect wonderful drape, a slight shine, and very powerful cooling properties to the body that are so appreciated in hot summer. The color palette is just unforgettable. Not many summer yarn palettes can impress me so much, but look at this. They're so beautiful and quite complex. I would need all sorts of summer cardigans, t-shirts and tops with this yarn and enjoy wearing it during hot season.
Well, why don't we speak about some cashmere, since we didn't speak about it for a long time already. Sandnes Garn released cashmere, and a lot of people messaged me. They were asking if I like it because I did post it in my Instagram. So I bought this yarn only because of curiosity. I didn't need more projects with cashmere because I have a lot now on my needles and in my stash. And I just couldn't wait, because who doesn't want to try new cashmere from Sandnes Garn, from such amazing high quality Norwegian brand. So this is a pure 100% cashmere. It contains of 110 meters per 25 grams, and the price tag was 18 something euro per ball, which was expensive. Like, it's more expensive than Cardiff, for example. And I was very curious to test it, to compare it to different cashmeres. The texture of the yarn is the same as Cardiff cashmere and Pasquale cashmere that I've already tried, and Mondial cashmere that my friend tried, and I could see the project in real life. And this is the same spun. I think they all spin their yarn in similar places in Italy, if not the same. I cannot really confirm that, but it looks very similar texture, like a chain texture. I guess a lot of you are familiar with this type of structure. However, the thread is a bit thicker, it feels thicker, and it contains 110 meters instead of 112 if I compare it to Cardiff and Pasquale cashmere. However, now the key moment, and I think I'm going to receive a lot of unhappy comments, because I know a lot of people really like this cashmere, but if I'm honest, if I compare this cashmere to Cardiff and Pasquale, I like it a bit less. I'll explain myself. So when you hold it, it feels just a bit drier than Cardiff cashmere and Pasquale cashmere. It feels softer than Cardiff, but not in the touch itself, but in the amount of fluff at the first stage. So for example, if we take Cardiff cashmere, you will receive a lot of fluff after blocking the item and wearing it and blocking again. I have the whole sweater in it, and it just keeps releasing the fluff. When you take Sandnes Garn cashmere, you have already a lot of fluff, and I imagine when you block it, it's going to be even more fluffy, like crazy. But that fact actually scares me, because if I look at the texture of the yarn, I see a lot of really short, coarse hairs. And while I like this structure, I like coarse yarns, I think it's too short, like these hairs are too short, and I'm just questioning the durability of this yarn, because I'm knitting the whole scarf already for my husband. Look at this. And it is so fluffy already and feels a little bit fragile to me. I might be completely wrong, but this is my first impression. I didn't steam block this yarn. It feels just a bit drier than Cardiff cashmere and Pasquale cashmere, but it's of course unbelievably soft. But my complaint for this yarn is that it's too fluffy, and I'm only knitting with this. I did not even wear it. I mean, my husband didn't wear it yet. And of course it looks very cashmere-like, it feels very cashmere-like, but if the price tag would be cheaper than Cardiff, for example, I would justify it, because I don't think it will last for, I don't know, 35 years without looking really worn. And of course I understand that Sandnes Garn is a Norwegian brand, and in Norway producing yarn is way more expensive than, let's say, in Italy, so that's completely justified and that they put that type of price tag. But from a consumer point of view, I would maybe not buy this yarn for the entire project. Honestly, next time, even for accessories, I would go with different cashmeres. I would go for Cardiff, Pasquale, Mondial cashmere. Link I didn't try yet, so I cannot say anything, but Sandnes Garn, it was nice to try for my curiosity. It's amazing to knit because it's so fluffy and soft, but 18 euros plus per ball, when I'm really questioning the durability of this yarn, I'm not ready to pay, because for the entire project you will need at least 10 balls. So now what about something textured and completely lofty and different from cashmere? This is 90 Varas from Wool Dreamers. Wool Dreamers is a Spanish brand that I wanted to try for so much, because actually this is where I live as well, and they were not available to me because most of the yarns are very scratchy to my skin. So they released this fingering weight yarn, and the recommended needle size is 3 to 3.5 millimeter needles, and this is a 100% merino wool. So Wool Dreamers release their yarns in the same style constantly. They're all very lofty with quite uneven texture, with little tweedy specks in their yarns. They follow this traditional spinning ideas from the past, like we were doing this in Spain here a long time ago, and the quality of the sheep is incredible. The whole sustainability process, the care for animals and so on is very, very controlled. So I like the soul of this brand so much, but their yarns were not available to me because they're very pokey to my skin, and they're very, very dry to the touch. And they released this yarn which is 100% merino, and I can tolerate it to my neck. It still feels dry, it still follows all of these qualities from their wool. It's quite textured, it is very lofty texture of the thread. It is also quite bouncy, which is always a plus. It's quite easy to knit with, but it is softer. I really love this. Look at these gorgeous specks. Depending on the colorway, again, you see more or less of those specks, just like in Link Donegal that we saw previously. This one is very beautiful turquoise color with bright blue specks in it. So it does feel quite dry in the hands. It's not a regular merino that we're all used to, especially not comparable to any sort of superwash merino. It feels more like a lamb's wool. It is also very lightweight and very drapey. I knitted my swatch on 3mm needles. I wouldn't do it more tight, and I wouldn't do it more big. So that's a perfect stitch definition. Stitches are very even, very nice. Again, roving out is quite visible, so you have to be careful with this. One thing I have to say that I steam blocked it, and it did already pill a little bit. So this yarn is going to pill. If that's a problem for you, it's a thing to consider. But for me, it's not a problem. I'm completely fine with depilling my garments, but I do think it's going to pill quite a lot. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I feel from the swatch. So what I would knit with this is all sorts of outdoor garments as well, all sorts of cardigans, maybe holding it twice if you want a thicker, like a strong DK version, all sorts of accessories, all sorts of color work as well, because the thread is going to be blended quite well in the fabric. So now moving on to the next one, something quite fluffy. Baby Llama from Link. Look at this beautiful baby. Look at this cloud. This is so good. This is so, so soft. So this is 88% baby llama and 12% polyamide and nylon. So we have a cord here that is filled and wrapped with this gorgeous llama fluff. And that creates quite even stitches while we still have a lot of fluff. So the recommended needle size is 5.5 to 7 or 8mm needles, and I used 5.5 for my swatch, which was very small, I would say. If I would be wanting to be more comfortable knitting this, I would pick 6 or 7mm needles, but then the fabric would be more gapey. So I'm happy with my result, but when I was knitting this, it was a bit tricky, because the fluff would get stuck sometimes in the needle. Not stuck, but like you have to watch your stitches and see what you're doing. This is so, so soft. It is so fluffy. It is so warm. It is hugging the skin. It is so quick to knit on this type of needles, and you get 14 to 16 stitches per 10 centimeters. This is so big and so fast chunky knit, and for sure I would like to knit something for myself in this yarn. I just imagine how warm it is and how airy it is, and when you feel like you want to be hugged and wrapped into something soft, this is the yarn to go for. Very, very nice. Well, why don't we go with something extremely luxurious, something I've been wanting to try for so long. Cardiff Prime. This is a brushed cashmere, completely fluffy cloud that is slightly attached to the silk cord. Cardiff is an Italian brand that is very well known in the knitting community for their Cardiff Cashmere Classic, one of their most popular yarns. But this year, 2025, they released this gorgeous additional thread to either Cashmere Classic, if you want to go full in, or to any of your other projects. And that's quite affordable, I would say, because each ball contains of 25 grams and gives you 300 meters. So Cardiff actually sent me quite a lot of yarn for my next projects. And this brand is also fascinating. I want to speak about it in my next vlogs or knitting podcast, because the story behind it is very interesting. The approach that they have towards creating the yarns is very special. And of course, when I saw that they released Prime, I just wanted to try it so bad. So I did need a swatch. Oh my god, it was so long because this is extra lace weight yarn. But I just want some appreciation for the swatch. Look at this. This yarn is designed to be held as a second strand, but I just knitted the whole swatch to see completely the texture that we have and the feeling. I didn't want to mix it with anything, and I knitted my swatch on 2.5 millimeter needles. It is just like a cloud. It is so buttery, it is not dry at all, and it's worth everything. So I also think it's a perfect mohair substitute. If you're a sensitive person or if you're bored of mohair, you can use it as a mohair substitute. And if you want more ideas for mohair substitutions, you can watch my video about it on my channel. I will put the link under the video. And this is just a dream to hold with, because if you hold this yarn as a second strand, it's just going to transform the project, because it will give to that cashmere feeling to the garment without it being actually fully cashmere. So this is a colorway 121. It is called Hoshi, I think, and it is such a wonderful, a bit warm blue. I think this is quite true what you see now on the camera. And the cashmere fluff is attached quite evenly. So again, in the swatch, we can see that we don't have like major bumps, you could say. For example, in Gepard Kumula, it's more uneven texture, which looks also beautiful. But here we have way more even texture. Because of the silk, of course, we have a lot of drape and flowiness. It's such a beautiful fabric. Gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. Of course, I think it's worth it, and the sensations are just unbelievable. When you hold it, you know you're holding something special, something nice, and probably something expensive, but I already said that it's completely worth it. Next one is the sock yarn. It is Link Super Soxx Tweed 6 ply. This is a sock yarn that has these gorgeous tweeds that are not so tightly attached to the thread. You see these little pieces of fabric that are attached to the cord, and this is 410 meters per 150 grams. So each ball contains of 150 grams. And the recommended needle size is 3 to 4 millimeter needles. I knitted mine on 3 millimeter needles. This is my swatch. And I really like the fabric. I wouldn't knit on 4 millimeter needles, to be honest, especially for socks. And I really love the fabric. The content is 67% of virgin wool non-superwash, 25% polyamide, and 8% viscose. So I guess 8% viscose is this speckles. We don't have probably viscose in the thread itself. And the thread is very soft. It's very silky. It's quite merino-like feeling, and that is of course suitable for sensitive people. And these tweeds just add a lot of interest to the whole knitting experience. I was really enjoying it. It was quite a nice time knitting it. I was actually in the mountains when I was knitting the swatch. And again, depending on the colorway that you choose is going to be different. The speckles are going to be different, and the whole appearance is going to be different. So do I recommend this yarn for the socks? I think so. The only thing you have to be ready that the speckles are going to probably poke out, and sometimes they even fall off as I was knitting with them. So if that doesn't bother you, I definitely recommend. Look, you see here. For me, it's not a problem at all because I depeel my socks anyways, and I can also depeel these tweeds if they go out. So definitely recommend. The colorway is 96. I'm already so excited to knit socks with this, and I imagine they will be so soft, cozy, and extremely warm because this is a light DK weight or really strong sport weight yarn. Alright, now let's move on with something so chunky and absolutely crazy. So it is Wool Addicts by Link yarns that is called Promise. So this whole ball of yarn is 100 grams and you get only 260 meters. That means it's very thick. The recommended needle size is 7 millimeters and the stitch gauge is approximately 13 stitches per 10 centimeters. This is so lightweight and so huge. And the contents of this beautiful cloud is 90% merino wool and 10% polyamide. So the structure of the yarn is this very thick, interesting cord that is filled up with merino wool. And merino wool is extremely soft. It feels a little bit dry to the touch. And if you have any sort of skin imperfections in the fingers, you will kind of grab it a little bit. This is what I felt when even touching the ball right now. I feel like anything that is uneven on my skin, it tries to grab through the yarn. So I knitted my swatch on 6mm needles, less than recommended. It was so fine to knit, I didn't find it difficult, and I really like the fabric. It feels really soft, really nice. After blocking, it released a little bit of the fluff. It was more smooth before, and I guess as you wear it and as you block it again and again, it's going to release even more fluff. I think this is perfect for accessories. I'm not sure if I would need the whole garment in this yarn. First of all, because I think it's a bit prone to felting because it's a merino wool and it is just this very unspun structure of merino wool that is simply filled within the cord, and the stitches are not so even. It creates these little bumps and unevenness, and I personally would prefer to wear like a huge warm cozy scarf, like a Berlin scarf for example. That would be really nice, but the sweater in this yarn I wouldn't really like. So for example, LAMA, baby LAMA from Lang that I showed before, feels a bit more humid, softer. It doesn't really get stuck in my fingers and it feels more like hugging to the skin. This one is just a bit dry. It is soft, but it's dry feeling, you know what I mean? So it's not so silky feeling to the skin. That's why I prefer this for the accessories. It does look quite impressive. Love it. So the next one, let's go with something very unusual that I didn't show before. This is Link Infinity. And this is a very interesting yarn because it does remind me of Noro yarns, which is very popular. So Infinity is a 100% merino wool, which is a superwash merino wool. And we don't have any spun here. It's literally a roving yarn, just like one thread that just has a slight twist, but nothing is spun. There's just one single ply, and the thickness of the thread is so different. In some parts it's very thick, some parts is very thin. It's beautiful. If you like this type of effect, it's very nice. It's going to create that really handmade feeling, also what Noro yarns do. I don't know if they tried to create something similar to Noro or they came up with this idea by themselves, but it feels amazing. It's so soft. It is silky soft and it's so drapey. As you can see, the swatch is completely shapeless. It's beautiful. I think it's perfect both for garments and for accessories. The only thing is, like any roving yarn that doesn't have any spun is going to peel way more. And after the steam block, this swatch released a lot of fluff. And if I rub against the fabric, I can already see that it can create certain, you know, bumps that eventually will be balls. I don't mind de-peeling my garments, but just to be aware that maybe it is better to use for accessories. So it would be a really nice, beautiful shawl or a nice cozy scarf, maybe even double layered. So this is the color 004, and again, depending on the color you choose, it could be a completely different story. The variegations are so interesting, and in my swatch I only have 3 colors changed, but I'm really looking forward to see how these ones are going to end up. And what I noticed when I was knitting with this, my mood raised. I felt more nice, uplifted because of the colors. It was really nice. And I was knitting this when I was horribly sick and that really helped. So the needle size recommended is 4.5 to 5mm needles, and I knitted my swatch exactly on 4.5mm, and that was perfect. It is also perfect for kids and for people who are overly sensitive. It is absolutely gorgeous cloud-like experience. Alright, the next one is again from Lang. I think this is the only ones that I have. Let's go with Cashmere. So this is Lang Cashmere Extra Lace. And this little ball of 25 grams has 320 meters. It is so thin, and I needed a swatch for this. The same like with Cardiff Prime, it took me 4 days to knit the swatch. I knitted this on 2 0.25 millimeter needles, and it's still so gaping. You can see me, huh? You can see me through the fabric. So this is a 100% cashmere, and it is designed to be, of course, used as a second thread. I don't see this to be used at all as a single thread, even if you need very lightweight lace shawl. I think it's too fragile to hold as a single strand. It is very, very thin. However, we do have two strands in this yarn, and they're extremely thin, of course, but I have to say that even though it is very thin, it is quite durable, like it's quite sturdy. It's hard to break, because some of the cashmere yarns of lace weight I could just pull apart so easily. This one is quite strong. Overall, I have to say that it is, of course, soft because it's cashmere, but it's not the feeling that you take the ball, if you're, for example, don't knit, if you're not a knitter. If you take the ball in the yarn, you can't immediately say that it's cashmere, because it's not that soft, not that silky, not that fluffy. And that is good, because depending on a project, you need some sort of durability sometimes. And this is the type of thread that I would use in the project if I would still want cashmere in it, but I want it to be durable. So quite a nice option, very needed in the market, because most of the cashmere lace yarns, like Cardiff Cashmere, like Pasquale Cashmere, even lace option from Lank that they have as well, is way more fluffy and way more soft and nice. But this one feels more durable, you know, more like a harsh version. So let's go for the next one. It is Lank Nomad. So the contents of the yarn is 85% virgin wool, extra fine, I don't know if it's merino or not, doesn't say, and 15% yak. So no synthetic content, and the structure is so interesting. It's literally like a chain, but a thick chain, like a cord. It's also quite bouncy, so if you stretch it, it bounces back. I love it because also you have this melange effect. Those darker shades in the yarn that you see that pop through, it's 15% of yak. So this colorway is 59, and we get 25 grams and 125 meters. The recommended needle size is 4 to 4.5 millimeter needles. But I knitted my swatch on 3.5 millimeter needles because I looked at the thread and I thought, well, I would prefer that. But that was a mistake, because the thread actually bounces back quite a lot, which is nice because as we don't have any synthetic in this cord, we do care about durability and holding of the shape of the garment. My swatch really bounced back a lot, and it looks too tight for my liking. I don't really see stitch definition much, so I would like to knit this on 4 or 4.5 millimeter needles as recommended. And it is so soft. It's literally like cashmere. I think it could peel a little bit, of course, because of the yak content and because of the fluff itself. Like, even if I look at the swatch right now, I do see a lot of fluff. Overall, I would need everything with this, from accessories like hats, gloves, scarves, to the garments like blouses, sweaters. I'm not sure about cardigans because I think this yarn is very delicate and you do want to hold it next to skin. All sorts of garments that require elasticity, something quite tight, maybe even with negative ease. That would be really nice because it's going to, you know, be elastic on your body. And what's really nice is that it's very thin fabric, but it's very, very warm because of yak. 15% of yak is not that much, but it still adds good amount of warmth. All sorts of baby hats, baby garments for sensitive skin are going to be just perfect. So the next one, and I think is the last one, again from Lank. This is Alpaca Soxx Tweed from Lank. And oh my god, I already knitted with their yarn that is just Alpaca Soxx without the tweed effect, and I'm just in love with this. So the content is 66% alpaca, 29% polyamide, and 5% virgin wool. So 5% is those tweeds. So this is so soft, so fluffy, so silky, and I just love it so much, especially in this gorgeous color that is 0003, which is very light and very barely blue sky color. And you can see how fluffy and cozy it is. It is designed to be a sock yarn. The only thing that these tweeds are not really well attached to the thread. They're very easy to pull out and they actually poke from the fabric. Alpaca is extremely soft. It is called Easy Wash Alpaca. I think it means somehow it is machine washable, but honestly I wouldn't wash it in a machine. And it's actually a thick fingering or light sport weight yarn, I would say. So 100 grams gives you 387 meters, and I'm just in love. What can I say? since I'm knitting the whole garment in it, you can see that I love this yarn, and the tweed version is complete love. So that was it I wanted to show you today. I am so happy that my voice could sustain the whole video. I'm so inspired for so many projects after touching again and showing it and speaking about it. As usually, I'm just crazy about yarns and knitting, and I hope you benefited from this video, that it was entertaining and useful and informative. So maybe in the future, when you have idea for the next project, you can come back to this video and have some beautiful ideas. So leave me a comment which yarn you liked, what's on your needles, and I'm just wishing you a gorgeous cold weather knits season, and I'm hoping to see you soon in my next video.